So, for the most part, I've always worked as a wedding photographer. But of course, through the years, I have picked up some other jobs and I have worked in some other genres. And here's some of the reasons why I don't do them anymore. Real estate photography. I've done real estate photography and I still have a couple clients that I will still do them for, but I am very selective on it for a reason. The example I'm going to use, I was contracted to shoot some real estate photos for an apartment complex about an hour away from me. I had been in discussion through email with the vice president of the company and the property manager of the apartment complex that I needed to photograph. I had told them, make sure that you have everything cleaned up and ready to go for the photos. Should be kind of obvious. I get there and nothing's ready at all. They still had to move a fridge around. They still had to sweep, vacuum. And the apartments themselves were just in rough shape. But I did what I do. Created the best photos I could. Did the bracketed HDR photos, delivered them to them. A couple days later, I get an email back from the property manager. She wanted all of the grass cleaned up because there was a bunch of dead grass, all these different holes that were in the wall, the way that the wall looked from the bad patch jobs. She wanted all this stuff cleaned up. And I told her I could do that, but it is an extra charge. Which her response was, I thought with professional photos, it would just be cleaned up. I explained to her the amount of time that it takes to do what she's asking, and that it is not my problem if your property is not ready for the photos. Now, the part that I loved the best about this was the fact that the vice president of the company was on these emails. I think it more came down to that she was embarrassed that the vice president of the company, who was about 1,000 miles away from here, was seeing the condition of this property that she runs. The vice president quickly chimed in and agreed to pay the money to have the photos touched up the photos, delivered them about a week later. Vice president emailed me back, said they look amazing, thank you very much. And that was that. But that's one of the reasons why I won't do real estate photos anymore. People just assume that, oh, I'm going to clean it up and make it look absolutely perfect. They don't understand how long it takes to do all of this touch-up work, that they just think's magic just because you have an expensive camera. And that's why it is that I have a couple clients that I will still work with and do some real estate photos for them, because they know that they need to have that property ready. It needs to be looking good. I'm not going to touch up all of these weird patches in the wall because they had some shady contractor who didn't know what he was doing. That's not my problem. Next one, commercial photography. I'm talking e-commerce stuff. I've done quite a bit of e-com stuff, and if you don't know what e-com stuff is, it's anytime you go onto Amazon, the little pictures that they have, usually with the white background, those are e-com shots. Just little simple product shots, really not that difficult to do when you know how to light them correctly. But there's a lot of clients out there, particularly the smaller companies, that are extremely picky about certain things that just drove me up a wall. They'd always email back and say, oh, could we adjust the color on this? Could we change the lighting on this? Now, mind you, these are simple e-com shots that are usually going to be viewed on a phone, and they're about that big. Larger companies that I did stuff for, they didn't care at all. They had a certain way, just light it from this way, light it from this way, white background, good to go. But it was always these smaller companies that just wanted to nitpick every tiny little piece of it. And if you know anything at all about e-com photography, it doesn't pay all that well. You're looking at about $10 to maybe $20 per image. Usually you're doing kind of batch stuff where you have multiple products from one company and you're doing a bunch of them. You just need to knock them out as quick as you can, and that's the way that you end up getting paid. So when you're working for these smaller companies who send you 15 products to be photographed, and then they come back and say, out of these 15, I need 10 of these to be adjusted because the green's not quite the right hue or something along those lines. It was always something, and that's what I always heard from all these small companies. So I stopped doing it. Family photography. I stopped doing that as well. I used to do family photos, and I will still do them, but only do them for people within my area. It's nothing that I advertise. It's nothing that I have on my website, on my Facebook page, any of that. The reason that I don't really do them anymore is because I don't really enjoy it. It's just not my genre. I know there's a lot of family photographers around here, so it's not like people don't have options. And if you enjoy doing it, then awesome. Myself, I was never a big fan of it. I can never get really creative with them. I can't introduce lots of off-camera flash. Usually dealing with a toddler who can't stay still, who's trying to climb a tree. It just became kind of a headache and not worth it for the amount of money that you would get paid for doing a lot of these, especially around in this area. I think I was lucky to ever get paid $200 to do a family session. Or anymore, I charge $350 just to open the case that my cameras are in. So that was something that I stopped doing. And even with family photography, you'd have certain people who would just, again, nitpick things. They don't understand the amount of time that it takes to maybe remove this leaf that's on the ground or changing out the background. I'd always get that request, change out the backgrounds, which I absolutely refuse to do. I'm not going to swap out backgrounds for you. If we're standing in a park, it's going to be a park. I'm not going to put a mountain range in the back of it. I'm not going to make it look like sunset when we are taking the photos at noon. That was something that I was always clear with them right from the get-go too. I don't alter portrait photos all that much. I'll do a little bit of touch-ups. Maybe if there's a little piece of garbage, I'll get that removed. But for the most part, I don't do any of that background removal or any of the AI stuff at all. Well, those are always the ones that wanted to, I guess, kind of get nitpicky. Somebody who already told me my budget's $200, this is all I can afford, and I agreed to it. Then they wanted to continue trying to put stuff on top of it. They wanted to go over the amount of times. They wanted to go over the amount of deliverables to them. So I stopped doing them. It just, as I said, became so much of a headache. Senior yearbook photos. I still offer senior yearbook photos, but I'm very picky on the ones that I select to work with. I always tell people, look at my portfolio online. I have portrait stuff on there. I have senior yearbook photos that are on there. If that does not fit within the style that you were thinking, then I am not the photographer for you. That's one thing that always drives me nuts with portrait photography and even wedding photography. I will have couples from weddings that reach out to me and ask me, can you edit it in this style instead? No, I'm not. What you see in my portfolio is all a consistent style. It's a consistent edit. It's the way that I shoot. It's the way that I expose. It's the way that I color grade everything. I'm not going to change that. If you don't like the way that my photos look, then find a photographer that creates photos that you're thinking. Now, wedding photography. This is something I've done for a while, and I absolutely love it. I know there are some horror stories out there working with couples, and I have them as well. You'll have people that are at the weddings that might bug you, might want to act like they know more than you do. But for the most part, you're left alone to do what you need to do. They trust you. They hired you for a reason. And that's what I love about wedding photography. Couples seem to understand that, especially when you set those expectations right out the gate. That this is how I work, this is how the workflow goes. And for some reason, when people are paying the amount of money they do for wedding photography, they're just gonna trust you and trust your art and let you do what you do. So there you go. There's some of the genres that I have worked in, a little bit of the horror stories and why it is that I don't do it anymore. If you enjoy doing things like family photography, power to you. Real estate photography, that's something you want to do. Just be prepared for those people that are going to want you to make a little rat hole apartment look luxury. But a way around that is to set people's expectations right out of the gate. Let them know that you're not touching up stuff for free. If they have holes in the wall, if there are nail holes in the wall, if the walls are different colored and you need to change them to get them to all match, they need to know that that is going to cost them more. I always told my real estate clients, don't set a date with me until that property is looking the way that you want it to look in the photos. But I always suggest to everybody, especially one starting out, experiment with everything. You're not gonna know what it is that you enjoy until you get out there and do it. The one thing that has always been constant with me is portraits. I love working with people. I love making creative portraits. I love using light and just interacting. I've always been one of those people that once I'm around somebody, I'm very social. So working around people is something I absolutely loved. In commercial photography, I was usually stuck in my studio all day, and I couldn't even handle either. And then on top of that, coming here to sit at the computer and receive emails and then wanting me to change everything. Commercial photography can make you decent money, but it takes a long time to get there. Your upper echelon commercial photographers are making well over 6 figures, but that's about 5% of commercial photographers out there. So it's a very steep ladder to climb to be able to get up to that point that you're really, really making a good living and shooting stuff that you might actually want to be shooting as a commercial photographer. I don't want to deter anybody from doing commercial photography. I'm just giving you a heads up that it's a lot of work and there's a lot of competition out there. There's not many jobs for commercial photographers anymore. But there you go. There's my little take on the different genres that I have shot through the years and what I like, what I don't like.